Hey everyone, Kerry here on Ask Kolat, presented by RUDIS. Again, remember, if you have questions or anything, you can leave it at the bottom of this video in the comment section and RUDIS will get it to me, or you can tweet at me. I find Twitter to be the easiest one. This question came from Twitter and it's obviously coming from a coach, and he's asking, how do you get your athletes to buy in? And that's a really broad question. It's a really broad question. There's a lot of parts to a program. Another term that people use all the time is culture. And honestly, I'm tired of hearing the word culture. I hear it's like the new trend in wrestling. But in the end, it's getting your program to compete and act a certain way, and wrestle at a certain level, train at a certain level, represent the program at a certain level. So buy-in is a very broad term, and I know in coaching, a lot of times you think it's just the wrestling part, but running a program, there's so many aspects to it that are overlooked, and if you start to incorporate these other aspects, you actually do start to get better wrestling, is how I see it. So let's go through the places where it's at. Let's talk about, like, your buy-in phase is practice. Simple things in practice that you as the leader have to reinforce, right? And as a leader, reinforcing them is great, but at the same time, you can't run people like sheep. What you want is for your guys to start taking leadership roles or being more responsible, where you're leading them in a way that is respectful, and you're leading them in a way that they want to follow you. Practice might be simple things. Hey, we're there 5 minutes early, right? And our laces are tied and we're ready to go. I tell my guys, look, especially for a high school room, when I end practice, when I finish practice, when I say it's over, then anything you do at that point is extra. National champions do extra. And it's a term I always use. If I was running a high school program, I'd be sitting here saying state champions do more. And that's officially once I say it's over. Active rest in a practice room. It might be, hey, we don't sit down. We don't our body language doesn't suggest that we're exhausted. If we're getting a water break, when you get your water break and you're waiting for other people to go through the line, you're doing an active rest where we're jogging and we're getting a little extra conditioning. So you got a room full of guys running until that last guy has gotten his drink. You establish those ground rules of competition, in practice, and you reinforce them. And then you get to competition, and it's the same thing, like you got to set the guidelines, and you got to get your team to get on board with it, and you got to reinforce it, again, in a leadership way that, sometimes you obviously got to put a foot in somebody's butt, and other times, but it's more you want guys to follow you because they want to follow you. Practice might be as simple. If I was running a high school program, one of the things I would have is my stat person. I would say, hey, count every time that somebody beats us back to the center. When our opponent's wrestling, how many times they beat us back? Because when you have a whole team of guys coming out and they're always the first back and always the first back and always the first back, it really does help keep momentum on your side. Even if the guy's getting beat, he's the first back. It shows that he's trying, and effort gets fans excited. And when your fans are excited, that guy competing gets a little extra momentum. When your bench is excited, seeing a guy always the first back, even if he's losing the bout, it keeps your team excited. One of the guidelines I would have is, if Timmy got beat back to the center 5 times, you say, for every time we get beat, it's 5 sprints when we get back in the room on Monday. And, if he gets beat 5 times, it's 25 sprints. And you got to get him to want to do them because that's how you guys compete. It's a rule that's established with your program. Just like you don't give up bonus points. Competition might be, hey, here's a checklist that you printed out and you give it to every guy and they keep it in their bag all year, and it's wrestling shoes, headgear, and you check it every single time. Every single time, even if you know it's in there, you go through the checklist. So you don't show up and a guy forgot his shoes, or you don't show up and the guy forgot his singlet. You establish principles for competition. Other principles are fans. I got the Camel 5 years ago. We didn't really have a fan base, and I wanted to be enjoyable for people. We had, as a new coach, people wanted to come and see what was changing in the program, and I wanted people who came to the matches to enjoy themselves. I went as far as one time I printed out an actual sheet of directions on how to cheer at our event, and I gave it to my guys, my backups and my red shirts, and I said, look, if we stand a guy up, in a mat return, and we bring him down, I want everybody to stand up and just go boom, make a loud noise. Every time we get somebody on their back, when the referee starts counting, I want everybody to stand up and start counting loud. 1, 2. 1 to sway the ref. 2 to make it loud in the gym. You know, every time we got a takedown, we wanted the guys to stand up, hold two, and scream two. You know, simple things, right? And I'll tell you what happened. My wife came back when I got home that evening, and she's like, "Wow, your guys were fun tonight. They were really into to the match tonight. They were going crazy." And I said, "Were they really?" You know, and I said, "That's because I gave them a set of instructions on what to do." So my wife enjoyed herself, and if she enjoyed herself, I'm sure there was a bunch of other people that were in that gym, maybe never been to a match, but you know how it is when things are loud and exciting, people enjoy things more. And so the effect I wanted it to have, it happened. And to this day, that was 5 years ago, I rode a sheep. My guys still do it to this day. You know, we just had a duel the other night in an opposing gym, and they were the loudest group of people in there. And, you know, I'm sure the opposing fans didn't like it, but they also remember it, you know. And my guys had a great time. I'm sure fans had a great time, even fans who were on the opposite team, because it was an exciting duel, and I'm sure they made it more exciting and got the adrenaline pumping. But so there's rules for competition. There's rules for practice. There's, you know, you establish a set of guidelines for fans and get a tradition going with it. You know, the other thing might be, you know, boosters and parents. You can either go out and raise money, or you can really engage your guys to raise money, and that's part of it, you know, and getting your guys involved. If you just sit back and let mom and dad do everything, then your kids aren't invested in the program, or they're not buying into your program. You know, you should establish, hey, mom and dad, we need you to do this. And here's why we need you to do it. This is what it takes to run a program. These are the extra things we want to do. And if we want to have a great team, you know, I need this amount of money to take this extra trip to this big tournament so we can face some better competition. You know, maybe it's $500 for each parent, or $300, and the kids got to raise half of it. You know, you incorporate all those things, and then that's buy-in, you know. And when you're doing all that, when the kid's got, he knows this is the way we practice, this is what coach expects, and this is what my teammates expect. And at competition, this is how we act. Competition might be, hey, stay off your phone 2 hours before. Nobody pulls out their phone. You know, when you're on the bench, nobody's on their phone. You're getting focused for the match. That's another guideline that you set, and you guys know these are the things we follow and how we do it. You know, to fan base in the stands, and to, you know, fundraising and socially. You know, hey, you know, the day of the match, we're not on social media. We don't get on social media. We stay away. And so you incorporate all those things, and it doesn't happen overnight. But if you really have a set of principles that you operate by, and you're reinforcing it daily in all those areas of your program, then eventually you're going to see it. It's not going to happen overnight. None of it ever will. Nobody gets to a program and just immediately flips it. You know, it's a set time frame, and reinforcing it, and as you get it going, then it gets easier and easier. And then as new people come into the program, this buy-in is established, and you see it all the time. So that's how I help you. But in the end, if you haven't defined it and clearly laid it out as the leader of the program, then nobody else knows what's going on. So you have to make sure it's there for them, and they don't forget it, and they know it. I appreciate the talks. Keep sending the questions in. Again, comments at the bottom, or tweet at me, or tweet at RUDIS, and you know, I'll continue to answer them. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you all next week.